The stars over New Alexandria shimmered like the calm before a storm. On the colony's surface, children played beneath the towering glass domes, and research drones buzzed softly between biodomes. It was just another quiet evening on the edge of human expansion, until the sky tore open. Without warning, the first Vraxian warship descended through the atmosphere like a blade falling from heaven. Its hull, obsidian and pulsing with eerie bioluminescence, reflected no signal, gave no warning. It simply opened fire. The initial barrage turned the orbital defense platform into slag within seconds. The colony's peace shattered, buildings crumbled, screams echoed through the comm lines, and the AI-controlled defense systems activated far too late. From the bridge of the Vigilant, Captain Elara Quinn watched it unfold in silence. "Distress signal from New Alexandria, Captain," Lieutenant Rios said, his voice low but steady. "Visual feed coming through." The screen blinked to life. A panicked face, a young woman in a torn lab coat, flickered into view amid smoke and red lights. Her voice was ragged. "This is Dr. Kara Dolan, Colony Research Lead. We're under attack. Vraxians. No warning. Civilians." A blast cut the transmission. Static. Then silence. Elara didn't blink. She straightened her uniform. "Bring the fleet online. All ships to battle stations." "Captain," said Rios carefully, "we need coalition clearance for a retaliatory action." "To hell with coalition clearance. They'll send a committee while our people burn." She turned to the tactical officer. "Spin up FTL. Plot a direct course to New Alexandria." A few of the junior officers hesitated. The standing order was clear: no independent military engagement without coalition sanction. But Elara had never been one for standing orders. She strode to the central platform. "This isn't politics. It's war. The Vraxians just declared it, and humanity will answer." No one challenged her after that. 6 hours later, the Vigilant and 2 escort frigates, Hammerfall and Bastion, dropped from FTL just outside the system. The wreckage of the defense grid floated in scattered silence. "Jesus," Rios whispered. "They glassed half the colony." The domes of New Alexandria were gone, molten metal and scorched soil where families once lived. Heat signatures still pulsed below, some human, some definitely not. "Open channel," Elara ordered. A Vraxian voice responded. It was deep, resonant, and laced with disdain. "Terran vessel. You are trespassing in a newly acquired Dominion zone. Leave or be destroyed." Elara stepped forward. "This is Captain Elara Quinn of the Terran Vanguard. You butchered a civilian research colony. You'll answer for every scream that echoed across that soil." A low hiss came through the channel. "Amusement, perhaps. You should have remained in your cradle, human." The channel cut. "Lock weapons," Elara said. "Target their lead ship. I want their cradle shattered." The Vigilant surged forward, thrusters flaring blue. Plasma rounds lit the void as the Terran fleet opened fire. The Vraxians returned with brutal efficiency, their bioships moving like predators in dark water. Shields flared, hulls screamed under pressure, but Elara's ships didn't break. "Tactical status," she barked. 2 Vraxian corvettes down. Bastion took damage, engineering decks sealed off, but they're holding. The main enemy destroyer closed in. Organic tendrils wrapped around its chassis pulsed before releasing a cascade of plasma bolts. The Vigilant shuddered violently. "Direct hit to port side." Rios shouted. "Divert power from auxiliary systems to shields," Elara ordered. "Hold the line." She paced the bridge, every movement measured. "Bring the fusion cannons online. Target their command node. They'll be in range in 15 seconds. She nodded. "That's enough." 15 seconds later, the Vigilant fired. A focused lance of white-hot energy lanced through the void, piercing the Vraxian destroyer's core. For a moment, the ship seemed to convulse, then imploded in a burst of burning gas and shattered bone metal. Silence returned to the bridge. No cheers, no celebrations. Just the quiet understanding that it was only the beginning. Elara stared at the wreckage. Send recovery crews to the surface. Prioritize survivors. And the coalition? Rios asked quietly. Elara turned to him. Let them argue in their halls. We'll act. Because someone has to. She stepped off the command platform and spoke to the entire bridge crew. Her voice was clear, deliberate. Humanity has always been underestimated, called primitive, volatile, inferior. The Vraxians thought we'd beg for help. But today, we didn't cry. We answered. No one said a word. They didn't need to. Outside the viewport, the stars still shone over the battlefield, cold and silent witnesses to a new war, one that humanity hadn't started, but would damn well finish. The War Council aboard the Vigilant was hastily assembled in the ship's war room, sleek steel walls pulsed dimly with alert lights, and the air buzzed with tension. Maps of the Vraxian-controlled sectors flickered across the central holodable. Captain Elara Quinn stood still, eyes fixed on a single crimson marker blinking ominously near the Sirius outer belt. Forward staging base, she said. That's where they launched from. Commander Juno Thal, second in command, crossed her arms. According to intercepted comms, it's their logistics hub for this entire region. Then we hit it, Elara replied flatly. There was a long pause. Lieutenant Rios broke it. Captain, that base is deep inside Vraxian territory. The coalition will never sanction it. And if we lose, there's no backup. Elara didn't flinch. They massacred a science colony. We're not waiting for permission. Her voice wasn't raised, but it carried weight like an orbital strike. We strike fast. In and out before they can organize a response. We cripple their supply chain, remind them humanity is not prey. No one argued. The Vigilant, Hammerfall, and Bastion burned through the darkness at FTL, silent and predatory. The calm before engagement always felt too long. Elara used it to review old mission logs, update tactical overlays, and sip black coffee that never seemed strong enough. Her eyes drifted to a small digital frame on her desk. A picture of her brother, Daniel, taken years ago on the Europa front, smiling in a mud-soaked combat exosuit. Kia. She never found the body. Only a helmet and a bloodied patch. She tucked the frame away and stood. The comms buzzed. Captain, we're 30 seconds from drop. Ready all weapons. Full combat alert. The ship trembled as it exited faster than light. Reality snapped into view like a whip. Before them, the Vraxian supply station loomed, an organic monstrosity half embedded in an asteroid, with docking arms that resembled insect limbs. 5 cruisers patrolled its perimeter. Target their power spires. No warnings. Hit hard. The order came down like thunder. Within seconds, the Terran fleet unleashed hell. Kinetic warheads screamed through the void. Blue-white lances of plasma tore through Vraxian armor. The enemy scrambled, caught mid-refueling, their defensive pattern sluggish. One enemy cruiser exploded outright, its containment core rupturing in a star-bright burst. The Bastion dove through debris clouds, flak chewing at its shields. Rios shouted over the din, enemy fighters inbound, 2 full wings. Deploy interceptors. Keep them off our flanks. The ship vibrated violently as energy blasts raked the hull. The Vigilant shuddered but held course. Multiple impacts to rear shields. Reinforce them and return fire. Push forward. Elara leaned into the railing, eyes locked on the station's pulsing heart. Arm the breach torpedoes. Target their core. Aboard the enemy base, chaos reigned. Vraxian officers screeched into comms as atmospheric fires licked the walls of their control center. None expected a human attack this deep, this daring. The breach torpedoes hit. The blast punched a hole through the asteroid's surface. A chain reaction ignited the fuel stores. The Vraxian station lit up from within, like a 6-star dying too fast. Direct hit, Captain, Val said, her voice sharp. The station's gone critical. Elara exhaled through her nose. Get us out before it goes nova. The fleet pulled back just as the station ruptured. Shockwaves rippled out, scattering Vraxian fighters like ash and wind. What wasn't destroyed in the blast fled into the void, routed and broken. But victory came at cost. Report, Elara demanded as they jumped to safe space. Hammerfall lost engines. Minimal casualties. Bastion lost one gun deck. We took structural damage, but shields held. She nodded slowly. We got lucky. Back in the war room, the adrenaline faded. Elara leaned over the holodable, now littered with debris markers. Commander Thal's expression was grim. This won't stay quiet for long. It's not supposed to, Elara replied. This was a message. To the Vraxians? To everyone. We're not waiting for the galaxy to decide if we're worth defending. Thal hesitated. You know this might force the Coalition's hand. You're forcing them to pick a side. Elara nodded. Then it's time they picked. She walked the length of the command deck, hands behind her back. We can't afford half measures anymore. Either humanity stands alone, or we stand as equals. But we do not kneel. Hours later, in the quiet of her quarters, Elara reviewed encrypted footage, civilian comms from New Alexandria, extracted by rescue teams. In one, a boy cried for help beside a fallen mother. In another, a scientist held the line with a welding torch in sheer defiance. These weren't soldiers. They weren't trained for war. But they fought anyway. She sat in silence, absorbing it all, every face burned into memory. Rios chimed in over the intercom. Coalition just pinged us. High-level transmission incoming. Let it wait. There was too much blood for politics now. The Vraxians had torn open a wound in the galaxy. Elara had no intention of letting it close quietly. The Coalition chamber on Eos Prime was built for peace, its domed ceiling painted with a holographic nebula, its polished floors reflecting centuries of diplomacy. But today, silence smothered the room like a vacuum. Dozens of alien delegates sat in stunned quiet, their faces unreadable, scaled, furred, chitinous, smooth. All eyes fixed on the screen above, which replayed the human assault on the Vraxian supply base in real time. Explosions rippled through the void. The Vraxian stronghold ruptured like a bursting heart. At the end of the footage, a single message scrolled across in Terran Standard. They cried for help. Humanity answered. The silence broke with a hiss. This is madness, snarled Chancellor Kriva of the Isanth. A rogue act. No clearance, no sanction. A retaliation, growled Ambassador Darrick of Earth. For a massacre the Coalition did nothing to prevent. You've dragged us into war. No, Darrick cut in coldly. You let war come to our doorstep. We just opened the door. Far from the grand chambers and polished speeches, Captain Elara Quinn stood again on the Vigilance Bridge, her eyes fixed on a new horizon. The Vraxians weren't retreating anymore. They were mobilizing. 12 warships converging from 3 sectors, Rios reported. Forming a blockade near Arcturus. They're daring us to cross it. They want a decisive blow, Val added. They think we'll blink. Elara folded her arms, her voice firm. Then we don't blink. It wasn't recklessness. It was necessity. The Vraxians believed in dominance through fear. The only language they respected was overwhelming force. Humanity had learned that centuries ago on Earth, before they ever reached the stars. New intel, Val said, flicking a holomap onto the main display. They've moved their High Chancellor's command ship into the blockade. Threx is there. Rios looked up, surprised. He's exposing himself? Elara stared at the map. He thinks we won't be bold enough to go for the head. She smiled faintly. He's wrong. The fleet assembled in silence. 6 human warships, all that remained from the second expansion fleet, joined by 2 volunteers from lesser races. Not official Coalition allies. Not recognized military. Just old friends with scores to settle. The humans didn't march to war with speeches or banners. They went with locked weapons, old scars, and steady hands. In the mess hall, a young ensign approached Elara as she walked past. "Ma'am," he said nervously, "why us? Why is it always us?" She looked at him a long moment before answering. "Because we remember what it means to bleed and keep moving." At Arcturus, the stars burned brighter, gravity flux from the local neutron pair warped the light, turned the battlefield into a shifting kaleidoscope. The Vraxian ships waited, black silhouettes against the storm. Elara's voice cut through the bridge calmly. "We go in fast. No formation. No hesitation. We break their line or die trying." "Understood," Thal said. "All ships, execute war pattern Delta 4. The order loosed the storm. Human ships split like shattered glass, darting unpredictably through the Vraxian line. Enemy fire crisscrossed between them, but could not pin them down. Humanity didn't fight like the Vraxians, order against order. They fought like chaos in motion. The Vigilant plowed through the heart of the enemy formation. A Vraxian destroyer moved to intercept. "Target its reactor pod," Elara ordered. Plasma cannons surged. The destroyer spiraled and detonated. "Punch a corridor to the flagship," she snapped. "We take Threx out, now." The Vraxian command ship was enormous, like a floating cathedral made of bone and engine cores. Every cannon on its surface lit up, hurling fire into the void. "Shields to maximum," Rios shouted. "We won't last long in close quarters." Elara didn't look back. "We won't be here long." The Vigilant cut speed, spun 90 degrees, and unleashed its forward cannons directly into the ship's central tower. Alarms screamed across the bridge as return fire shredded their port shielding. But they were in. "Boarding party deployed," Thal confirmed. "Captain, the strike team's waiting." "I'm going with them." Thal turned sharply. "Elara. We end this now." Inside the Vraxian flagship, the air was thick with heat and smoke. The boarding pod tore through their hull like a spear. Elara led her marines through metal corridors slick with coolant and blood. They cut down resistance fast, short bursts, brutal efficiency. Every second lost gave Threx more time to escape. "Command deck, 2 levels up," shouted a marine. They breached the final door with a shaped charge. Inside, High Chancellor Threx stood calmly, flanked by elite guards. His eyes, jet black, lidless, narrowed. "So," he said, voice like oil, "the savage queen herself." "You attacked civilians," Elara said. "You didn't start a war. You lit a funeral pyre." Threx raised his claw. "You are children and metal toys." Elara raised her rifle. "And you just ran out of time." The firefight was brief and brutal. When the smoke cleared, Threx lay dying at her feet. "You will not survive this," he rasped. She looked down at him, unmoved. "Maybe. But you won't see it." The flagship exploded behind them as the Vigilant jumped to FTL. On the bridge, silence reigned. Then Rios leaned back and exhaled. "It's done." "No," Elara said quietly. "It started." 2 days later, the Coalition passed Emergency Accord Alpha 1. Humanity was granted a permanent seat on the Grand Council. Not out of sympathy, but out of fear. Respect. Recognition. Captain Elara Quinn became the name whispered across galaxies, hero to some, threat to others. But she wasn't chasing legend. She had only one goal left, to make sure humanity would never again need to cry for help. Because now, they would be the ones others called when no one else came.